Hi, it's Cara from CaraWild.com and welcome to part 2 in the series of my transition from working with one collective to another, from Aurora to the Ancients. So if you haven't seen video 1, that's where I talk about how guides can first make themselves known to you and how there is a difference between consciously calling us a guide in to work with you and then just a guide kind of turning up. So the guide kind of turning up is what happened with the Ancients, and this video is about how I began to integrate their energy into my kind of everyday life. So, or should I say, how I began to integrate their energy into my physical body, because when you verbally channel your guide, when you have that energetic exchange, you kind of bring their energy down into your auric field. And when I allow the guides to speak through me, our energies and our energetic fields have this intimate connection to allow that to happen. And my experience of working with the Ancients when they kind of landed and said, we want to work with you, is exactly the same process that I teach in my Channel Your Guide course, Adventures in Consciousness. So in that course, I teach people how to actively call a guide to them and the process to do that. And then, like, the Ancients just landed with me and said, we want to work with you. And the process of how to integrate them into your everyday life, into your body, and how to verbally channel them is the same as whether they've just shown up or whether you consciously choose to work with somebody and consciously choose to verbally channel. So I use the same process. It was just a bit different from Aurora. So when I first connected with Aurora, there was a lot of play, and I was just in this really expansive, grateful, blissed out place in my life. I had just fallen in love. And so it was really easy to bring that energy through and to just start playing with it. When I first connected to the Ancients, I was in a much more grounded place, but I was also wanting a more expansive experience of living. And some areas of my life had got a bit glitchy for me, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do about them. So when I first started hearing the Ancients and when they first started to connect with me, I could hear them telling me that they wanted me to live more impulsively, to look at instinctive ways of living. And that's all I got to begin with. So in terms of my work, my channeling ability never really changed. And it just kind of felt very similar to when I was channeling Aurora, just a little bit more direct with the Ancients. But in my personal life, I was getting nudge after nudge after nudge to explore what this meant about living instinctively. But their specific words to me were, get back in touch with your animal nature, which led me to study the whole area of the nervous system and our fight, and freeze response. And I ended up taking a course in nervous system health and regulation, Smart Body and Smart Mind by Irene Lyon. Highly recommend it. And I also had some somatic experience sessions to help to strengthen my nervous system, because what I was hearing from them was, and what I was feeling from them was, they were so expansive and this high vibration that if I tried to bring them directly into my nervous system, they were saying that they wouldn't do that because it might be too much and it might overload me. My feeling on that was, if I did it, I might have a big bout of anxiety. That's how it would show up in my system. So I just followed my interests, my curiosity, and like I always teach in the groups, your guides are so, they just got your back so much that they won't ever do anything that's not helpful to you, and they will always integrate their energy in the most gentle way for you. So this is definitely my experience of the Ancients. And so I began to, like I said, work to strengthen my nervous system, realize that just like many sensitives, I didn't have as much access to my fight response as I needed to, and so worked on developing my response to life and setting better boundaries and demanding more for myself. And one of the things that you'll find if you ever start working with your guides, especially if you blend your energy with theirs, is that their energy is automatically like higher, for want of a better word. So when you blend with them, anything that is not in alignment with your highest good is going to come up for attention. And for me, that meant looking at my relationship. And I resisted it for quite a while. I did. I resisted it. And that's okay. I'm really cool with that, because we need to just do things in our own time. And the guides, in the end, the ancients, just, what I say can happen is they kind of just like plonk you down and you're not allowed to move. And it just felt like that. They just went, listen to us. And I just began to write and write and write. And I was asking questions, but the answers were formulated before I'd had a chance to process, which is one of my signs that I know that I'm connected with a consciousness that is not my own. And 3 pages of A4 later, I had the exact plan of changes that I need to make in my life, and that I was really intuitive knowing in myself, but it was really good to have their feedback of, yeah, you're right, this is what needs to change. And so then I started to implement changes. So I started to mentally connect with them to begin with, started to work through my fears and doubts. And then, like I say in my course, I started to partner with somebody to help them anchor and bring through the verbal channeling. So, and to bring through that collective and their message for me, because I always say to my students, it's far easier to channel for somebody else than it is for yourself. Because when you channel for yourself, you kind of have that emotional reaction that can take you out of that channeling state. But when you're channeling for somebody else, they just kind of pull it through you, and you haven't got that emotional attachment of getting it right. So my work just transitioned really quite easily, and I'll tell you how it affected my client work in the next video. But in my personal life, it was the same process. I could hear them mentally. I knew what changes I needed to make. I worked on that, and then I asked a friend to help me pull through and ask questions on my behalf. And they said that they were a collective that had a new wave of teachings to bring through, and that they had chosen to work with me, and they wanted me to be their ambassador for their teachings. So for me to live their teachings, and that they would only ever channel through me. Well, my who do you think you are went through the ceiling. So I was like, I must be making this up. This is my ego. Who do you think you are to be like the chosen one? That's the stuff of mental health issues. You've got mental health. Oh my God, you're going to go schizophrenic. Oh my God, this is just like, you're just going to have a breakdown. So all those fears and doubts kind of came up, and I worked with them in the same way that I encourage my students to work with them. I use visualization. I did actually do some tapping, and then actually I just practiced channeling and see what they wanted to bring through, and got to know them and got to know whether I wanted to work with them or not, and really made a decision as to whether these were going to be a collective that were okay for me or not. And I always teach that you have complete control over who is you in your energy system. So our guides always help us to see us for more than we think we are, that our conditioning keeps us smaller than who we truly are, and guides are really good at helping us shift through that conditioning and living more as our soul selves. And you always have a choice as to whether you work with the collective that shows up or whether you want to work differently. So let me just check my notes, make sure that I've done anything. And yes, one final thing is, when you allow a loving being into your energy stream, your challenge is always going to be, how can you love yourself more? How can you live with more joy? And how can you allow more ease into your life? These are things that should be easy, right? These are things that should be easy, but our collective has got so much of our worth attached to hard work, struggle, and having to prove ourselves, that opening up to this level of love is probably one of the most challenging things that a lot of us have got to do. So hope you found that useful as a kind of guide for how a transition might happen for you, or how bringing in a guide into your energy field might work for you. You won't have to do necessarily training in in a particular modality in order to understand what your guides are saying. It was just fun for me. You know, learning is fun for me. I was already fascinated by the nervous system, and this was just like a, you know, go for it kind of feeling. So in the next video, I will be talking about how working with the ancients has impacted my client sessions and my work, and my ability to channel, and who I now also channel, and how I work with the ancients on a day-to-day basis. See you in the next video. Bye for now.